also that you've seen in your history, when you've looked at English history, is this kind of community-based something that we've had for quite a long time?
Well,
or is this different?
Well, in a way, yes, because one of the actually extraordinary features, as Maitland pointed out, the community in the traditional anthropological, sociological definition of a place which is a bounded geographical area with communal property, communal identity, and communal blood ties, everyone born there, dying there, has never existed. There is no entity of a community in Britain. This is why it's very different from France and elsewhere. So, as he says, from the Anglo-Saxons onwards, we've never had a community with a capital C. But to replace that, and because our family system is so fragmented, we have had an extraordinarily developed associational culture. So, for example, dealing with old people, the English developed a poor law in which people felt responsible at the village level to raise money to help old people within their village. And they did that from the Elizabethan poor law, and there were traces of it even in medieval England. And then it was institutionalized more and more. So among the many things that the English gave the world was a system of old age pension relief, which has spread, around the world. So just to go back, because you froze for a while. Tocqueville suggested that you push democracy down. What we mean by democracy is lower level associational activities. And we now have a perfect opportunity of doing this. And it could particularly be developed in the Anglosphere because, as he noticed, it was from England that the associational system, replacing the status-based societies of the Ancien Regime, because in on the continent, your position was given by your birth status, and therefore peasants were peasants and lords were lords, etc. And it was strongly influenced by your religious ideology and so on. So you didn't have this great growth of societies, clubs, associations, but it's the sort of thing that John Locke and other philosophers talk about. It's a contractual system based on a desire to join with other people to do something. And Tocqueville said it comes from England, very well developed through the medieval period up through 16th, 17th, 18th century, full of associations and clubs and so on. And then it was taken to America. And in America, it was even more so because they have less of a class system in America and no real class. The family is completely fragmented in America. So it's a new world in which the only way you can get anything done above the level of the individual is to associate with them. And so, as he has some famous passages, anything you want to get done, from baking a cake to sending missionaries to Papua New Guinea, you form an association to do it. So it's the great civilization of clubs and associations. Now, coming with that background, if these Anglosphere could build on that, it's spread already, of course. I mean, India and the British Empire was very much influenced by this. I remember when I first went to Japan, our Japanese friends said that one of the most noticeable things that were absent in Japan, but were very present in Britain, were clubs and associations and do-gooding bodies and so on and so on. Things like Oxfam and so on were hardly present in Japan. Now they're much more widespread. So it is spreading. It's in a sense a necessary feature of modernity, because once you separate off different parts of your lives and make them no longer based on birth and your family, you disintegrate. The only thing that forms integration is through some kind of willing, which is what contract means. You decide you want to play a game of football and you make a football club. You don't have to. It gives you freedom. And the essence of these associations is freedom with responsibility and commitment. So when you're a member of the club, you follow the club rules, you feel closer to the people in the club than you do in that respect than you do to others. But as soon as you want to leave, you leave. And if people don't like you there, they can get rid of you. So that's how it's different from status-based, birth-based systems. So it's a very strong feature of modernity. And it's one that can be developed a lot now, because we can really begin to think not only of physical associations, which is what we thought of for the last 1,000 years, but virtual associations, you and I talking and groups of people meeting. So China, as I've said before, is filled with virtual associationalism, much more now than physical. And this can join people of a like-minded interest right across a huge place like China and across the world. So this is something which will happen and could happen much more in our own nations, but also internationally, schools joining together in virtual communities and all sorts of organizations working together across cultures and civilizations to take charge of their lives. It's all about taking charge of your life. And by being small, because the point about democracy is it's a matter of scale. This is why democracy doesn't work in a place like China or India or even America. It's too big. You can't take control of your life if you're sharing that control with, 1 billion other people, let alone 300 or 400 million people in America. And it's bad enough here. You feel they don't hear your voice.
Yeah.
I mean, Al Jazeera, bless its heart, which we watch every evening, it says, join the stream, become part of the world community, have your voice heard, be a member of the Al Jazeera community, which is what they're striving to do. But obviously it's pretty ridiculous. If I said, hey, Al Jazeera, I want my voice there, they'd say, hang on, there's a queue of 500,000 people before you. But by doing these little sub things, we can actually do that. And there's no reason not to. There's no threat to the state. It makes everyone's life more meaningful, purposeful. They feel engaged, committed to it. And that sense that many people now feel of alienation from national politics, and hence, the new kinds of semi-dictator that are growing in many countries, that sense of alienation, which temporarily dictatorships can create by fusing you into a kind of community for a short time, that you can create at the local level much more meaningfully.
Because one